For the longest time, ESPN and the NBA have been searching for the next Michael Jordan. That one singular player who transcends the sport and propels the NBA into another golden age. And at this point, it's almost become comical. The next Jordan is really any young superstar player who has potential to be a Hall of Famer. As guys from Ja Morant, Zion, Luka, Wembanyama, even Andrew Wiggins back in the day were compared to Jordan, dubbed the next Jordan, or had Jordan-like expectations. And the latest guy to join this group is of course Anthony Edwards. And look, I understand it. Has the bravado, the mentality, a high flyer, and a great two-way player. But when it comes to Michael Jordan, proclaiming he's 88 Jordan or 89 Jordan, that's where I just gotta pump the brakes and say, calm down.
Whenever you compare him to Jordan, you have to frame it with the age. Jordan didn't win a playoff series until he was age 25. We're not talking about 1991 Michael Jordan. Ant Edwards is like 1988 Michael Jordan.
As you watch them now in the playoffs and you watch him lead this team, what are you seeing from Anthony Edwards?
I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing the 89 version of Michael Jordan.
Stop it. Get some help.
So, seeing those clips right there, my first instinct is to just bash those guys off the bat, which I will do. But one thing I want to say first, when it comes to Michael Jordan's overall legacy, it's really been simplified and dumbed down to just 6 championships, the MVPs, and the undefeated finals record. Michael Jordan's career, his peak, his greatness, it's more than those championships and the finals MVPs. As looking at late 80s Jordan, early 90s Jordan, that guy by far is the best basketball player to ever lace them up. And Brian Windhorst saying Anthony Edwards is somehow 88 Jordan. Maybe the most asinine thing I've heard in the past year. I mean, 88 Jordan, it's the pinnacle of two-way greatness, a guard, and a perimeter player. And looking at MJ that year at age 24, 35 points per game, that ranked first. 5.9 assists, 5.5 boards, 3.2 steals, that's also first. 1.6 blocks, first among guards, 15th overall, and from the field, nearly 54%. And possibly the most impressive thing about 88 Jordan, he played an astounding 40.4 minutes per game, the most in the NBA, while playing all 82 games. And of course, 88 Jordan, not just the MVP, but also the Defensive Player of the Year, the first player ever to win both those awards in the same season. And looking at previous DPOY winners, only one player ever, that being Jordan, won the award, averaging at least 30 points per game. And of course, MJ did it averaging 35. Anthony Edwards is a good two-way player, don't get me wrong. He's borderline all defensive. He's very, very effective. But and to this point, never averaged 30 points per game, let alone 35, and hasn't made an all-defensive team, first or second team. And if you want to talk pure scoring, putting the ball in the basket, again, Edwards, a very good run this year, averaging roughly 28 points per game. But when you're talking 88 Jordan, that scoring barrage he could put on you, it's up there with Wilt, 06 Kobe, the best scorers in NBA history. Now looking at Ant Edwards' entire career, playoffs and regular season, this dude combined has one 50-point game and 12 40-point games. 88 Jordan, playoffs and regular season, 6 50-point games and 15 40-point games. I mean, let that sink in. Edwards in 4 consecutive seasons doesn't have more 40 or 50-point games than Jordan in 1988 alone. And to add insult to injury, look at playoff Jordan in 88. His first 2 games in the postseason, 50 points and 55. To that point, the only player ever with back-to-back 50 bombs in the postseason. And I mean, look at Jordan's playoff stats for the entire run. It's absolutely comical. And keep in mind, Jordan, the 88 regular season, already at the pinnacle of basketball greatness and two-way dominance. And still in the playoffs, he maintained it versus the best teams in the Eastern Conference. 36 points per game, 7 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and above 50% shooting. I mean, Jordan in those playoffs was lights out spectacular and all-time great. And keep in mind, this Jordan Bulls team, they won 50 games in a tough Eastern Conference. Looking at that roster he had, without Jordan on the roster, they'd have been a surefire lottery team and lucky to crack 20 wins without MJ. As really all they had was Charles Oakley, Brad Sellers, a Dave Corzine, John Paxson, and a Sam Vincent. That roster was a 50-win team because of Jordan. And looking back at Kendrick Perkins and Windhorst, why they're comparing Edwards to MJ so often is to bring Jordan back to the pack and back down to reality. As both these guys, what's their main motive? Promote LeBron James as the greatest. And Brian Windhorst, who covered LeBron James in his crib. This dude's motives are beyond clear. And Perkins, the Klutch sports asset he is, the entire reason he's comparing Jordan and Edwards is to knock MJ down a peg and put LeBron James ahead of him as the greatest. And if you thought 88 Jordan in the playoffs, he was fantastic, he was great. 89 Jordan, maybe a tad bit better, and actually made the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Pistons. I mean, look at this first round series versus Cleveland. That Cavs team, 57 wins, the second best record in the East, and had 3 All-Stars. Jordan versus that team, nearly 40 points per game, 8 assists, 6 boards, 3 steals on 51.8% shooting. In the final 3 games of the series, Jordan, 44 points, 50, and then 44 in the game winner over Craig Elo. The second round versus the Knicks, a 52-win team, the third best record in the Eastern Conference. Jordan once again was dominant. 36 points per game, 10 boards, 8 assists, nearly 3 steals on absurd 55% shooting. I mean, think about that, Jordan, a guy who quote-unquote was only a scorer, was a walking 36-point triple-double in this series. And one of the newest stats we have in 2024 is closeout game stats. Well, Jordan 89 in those games averaged 43 points per game. Absurd. And once again, looking at the supporting cast, I mean, it's beyond weak. A second-year Pippen, Bill Cartwright, Craig Hodges, second-year Horace Grant, and John Paxson. That doesn't scream super team with the 72-win Bulls. It's mediocre at best. And that team led by Jordan upset the Cavaliers and the Knicks and made the East Finals versus Detroit, where they beat twice for the only 2 losses of the 89 postseason. Look, the Edwards-Jordan comparisons and there's mentality, attitude, the way they carry themselves, I'll accept that all day long. But when you start pinpointing certain Jordan years and saying this guy is that, when definitively he's not, I mean, then we've got a problem. It's like saying 2021 Trae Young is 2016 Curry. Now, did Trae have good stats, have a deep playoff run? Yes, he did. But saying he's 2016 Curry, or really any version of Curry, is a bridge too far. And when people like Brian Windhorst, Kendrick Perkins are hopping on that Edwards bandwagon so fast, it kind of does make me wary of what they have in store for the future. As if Edwards wins the championship somehow, I can guarantee you it's going to be Ant versus Jordan, who's greater, who's better. Could Anthony Edwards be the greatest player in NBA history? I'm telling you, if Ant wins the championship, heck, just makes the finals in general, those debates will be had on every single major sports network. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.